Good morning and welcome to our Memorial Day virtual service. I'm Michael Barber, President of Branch 25 representing the San Francisco Bay Area and Vice Commander of the International Western U.S. Zone for the Royal Canadian Legion. Today I'm in Green Lawn Cemetery in Colma, California, one of two cemeteries in the Bay Area where Canadian servicemen and servicewomen are buried, and one of two cemeteries that we continue to maintain as a branch. This is where we traditionally hold our U.S. Memorial Day services. For the Canadians in the audience who may be wondering what the difference between Veterans Day, or Remembrance Day as we call it in Canada, and Memorial Day is here in the U.S., Veterans Day celebrates the living who served their country, whereas Memorial Day is about remembering and honoring those who died for our freedoms. As this is an American holiday, we want to highlight the close relationship that existed between the Canadian and U.S. militaries. For example, there were an estimated 35,000 to 50,000 British North Americans from the Canadian colonies that fought alongside the North in the American Civil War. Around 40,000 Americans crossed the border between 1914 and 1917 to join the Canadian military during World War I, and during World War II, another approximately 12,000 joined the Canadian military between 1939 and 1941 before the U.S. entered the war. Even within our own branch, former Branch 25 President Ed Abram was in the Cameroon Highlanders of Ottawa during World War II, and following the war, he moved to the United States and joined the U.S. Army. Today's virtual service is a collection of videos that we've recorded and edited together. The videos were recorded at various locations, in most cases by individuals in Branch 25 of the Royal Canadian Legion or one of the other California-based branches in the International Western U.S. Zone, as well as members of the U.S. Naval Sea Cadet Corps Arkansas Division. Unlike some of the ceremonies that we have had, where there's a formal master of ceremony to guide the service, before this event you should have received a formal program for today's service. The sequence of activities will follow that program.
They served and fought and died so that we might be safe and free. Grant them, O Lord, eternal peace and give them the victory. And in these days of unrest filled with grave uncertainty, let's not forget the price they paid to keep our country free. And so, on this Memorial Day, we offer up this prayer. May the people of all nations be united in thy care, and grant us understanding and teach us how to live so we may lose our selfish pride and learn to love and give. Keep us ever mindful of the fighting men who sleep in Flanders fields and foreign lands, so we may ever keep light of freedom burning in their honor through the years and hear their cry for peace on earth resounding in our ears.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, our true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets spread where the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save the Queen, send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen.
The flags are proud to decorate the graves of heroes. Catching every breeze that blows, they shout significantly. Truth that saves a world almost accustomed to its woes. They speak of boys with blood red as the rose, who sacrificed young lives and happy dreams to learn a mystery nobody knows, to fly beyond familiar hills and streams. The rose is proud to bloom upon the beds of soldiers. Every flower tries to press toward sweet perfection. Lilies lift white heads in hollowed ground and spill their loveliness upon the sleeping heroes. We confess to obligations scarcely felt before. Shall we the living feel our sorrow less if we make peace our goal and rule out war?
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
I was first introduced to Ed Johnson and Rick Gidner of the Michigan Association of Concerned Veterans, or MACV, in early 1994 when I was working for Canadian Senator Jack Marshall, who was chair of the Senate Subcommittee for Veterans Affairs. At the time, MACV were trying to donate a national monument for Canadians that had died in the Vietnam War. In keeping with the tradition of Americans coming north and joining the Canadian military, when the United States went to war in Vietnam, estimates vary between as few as 10,000 and as many as 40,000 Canadians went south and joined the U.S. military. At the time we were approached by MACV, there were 113 Canadians known to have died during the war, and their names inscribed on the wall in Washington. MACV wanted to erect a version of that monument, a north wall, to be on federal land in Ottawa. However, in 1994, there was no support from the federal government for the initiative. In fact, at the time, Canadian Vietnam veterans were even barred from membership in the Royal Canadian Legion. By the summer of 1995, MACV had abandoned their plans, and on July 2nd of that year, the monument was dedicated in the city of Windsor, located in Dieppe Park along the Detroit River, facing north towards the United States. Today, the names of 147 Canadians are inscribed on the north wall. As Memorial Day is primarily an American commemoration, we wanted to highlight these Canadians who served in the U.S. military and were forgotten in Canadian circles for so many years. With that, I would like to introduce Rob Purvis and Ron Parks of the Canadian Vietnam Veterans Association for their reflections on this Memorial Day.
Good afternoon. I am Rob Purvis, and I'm here today with my friend, fellow veteran, and president of the Canadian Vietnam Veterans Association, Ron Parks. We're here today at Brookside Cemetery, the second largest military grave site in Canada, to honor our fallen brothers for our annual Memorial Day service. During the Vietnam War, thousands of Canadians crossed the border and joined the U.S. Armed Forces. I joined the U.S. Army in 1968 with my three best friends, and we all served tours in Vietnam. My friend Larry Collins was killed in action of May of 1968, and he's buried here today in Brookside Cemetery. In the fall of 1985, after meeting another Canadian Vietnam veteran, I organized a reunion at the Canadian Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. We had 100 Canadian Vietnam veterans and 2 Gold Star mothers attend, and thus was the beginning of the Canadian Vietnam Veterans Association. The Canadian Vietnam Veterans Association has a traveling memorial wall and it lists the names of 149 Canadians who were killed in action in Vietnam. I will now turn over the microphone to Ron for our Memorial Day service.
Welcome to our Memorial Day parade and service. Today we honor all those who served in war to defend our countries. Throughout our history, young men and women have voluntarily left the safety and security of home and taken up arms to defend freedom, our freedom and way of life. The price of freedom is high. The sea of crosses that fill the military cemeteries in the United States, Canada, Asia, and Europe are a terrible reminder of the cost of war. Today we remember them, for sacrifice without remembrance is meaningless. To me, the most symbolic part of today is the playing of taps, which is the last bugle call at night. It is a signal that all lights are to be extinguished. It is very fitting that it is played at military funerals and memorial services. As such, our life as we know it is extinguished, and we are placed in the care and keeping of our Lord. On this most sacred day, we pause to reflect on what has been given and sacrificed. Let us also remember what resulted from this sacrifice. Without these sacrifices, we probably wouldn't enjoy some of the basic freedoms we exercise every day. The freedom of speech, the freedom to attend or not attend the church of our choice, the freedom to travel or work where we choose. These freedoms and many more were earned by the more than 1 million men and women who have died in service to our nations in war since 1775. Most were young, in the prime of their lives. While Memorial Day is to honor the fallen, let us remember those who are serving today around the world, defending our freedom and way of life. I want to share a story with you. I hope you will understand. A note was left recently at a war memorial by a young girl. It reads, "Dear sirs, I am a 13-year-old girl who has not lived during any war. I feel like I owe you men something, because if not, were not for you, I might not be living in a free country. You men sacrificed yourselves to ensure my freedom. There are still those of us who won't forget that our lives are owed to you. God bless, love, Hope Spencer." There is no glamour or glory in war. There is only pain and suffering and heartbreak for those who go to fight and for those who are left behind. I feel a great sadness when I think of my comrades who were killed, the young men who will always be 19 or 20 years old, and I will not forget them. I hope on Memorial Day you will in one way or another take time to think about these patriotic young men and women from the past who gave everything they had to protect and keep free for future generations these great countries of ours, because their sacrifice would be meaningless without your remembrance. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share the Memorial Day program with you. Airborne.
Please join me in this prayer. O God, we remember before you those who have laid down their lives for freedom and truth. May we be worthy of their sacrifice. Help us to be faithful and true to those ideas of which they fought and died for. May we continue to perpetuate the memory of our departed comrades by our service to country, community, and comrades. In remembering our solemn obligation, may we ever pray, Lord God of hosts, be with us yet, lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
For the second year in a row, Memorial Day services across the country look a little different than in years past. In many cases, they are streamed events over the internet, in some cases with a small number of physically distanced participants, and in other cases, pre-recorded videos of folks at public places or in their backyards. For countless families across the nation, Memorial Day is a stark and often painful reminder of those who were never afforded the opportunity to be honored as veterans for their service to our country. Their sacrifice is a true expression of selfless service, one that no one would pick for themselves. Whether they volunteered at a time of war, served during peacetime, or never expected to wear our nation's uniform until their draft card arrived, they represent the best of our nation has to offer. We feel their loss roaming the sacred hills or our national cemeteries and in other final resting places around the world. Too many mothers, fathers, siblings, and children feel the immense weight of seeing an empty chair year around. For them, Memorial Day brings to the forefront what is always operating in the background. Please join me in recognizing those family members who have lost a loved one in service. Your courage and grace after such unimaginable loss are inspiring. Thank you.
Before we officially end today's service, I wanted you to join me here at Liberty Cemetery in Petaluma. Earlier this month, Branch 25 lost one of its longtime members. Hugh Campion had been a member of the Royal Canadian Legion for the past 27 years. He passed away on May 12th at the age of 86. For many years, Hugh and his wife Pearl would come to Liberty Cemetery to maintain the graves of the Canadian and British servicemen and women that are buried here. Each year on Remembrance Day, Hugh would join us here for our annual service, always reading John McCrae's poem In Flanders Field as a part of that event. Today we also remember Hugh and his long-time service to this branch and to the Royal Canadian Legion. This brings us to the end of today's service. As we conclude, I'd like to thank Rob Purvis and Ron Parks of the Canadian Vietnam Veterans Association for their thoughtful words today. Thanks also to Benson Simmons, Devin Self, Jody Lee, Aaron Bennett, and our own piper, Charlie Martin, for their musical performances. A special thanks to the U.S. Naval Sea Cadet Corps, Arkansas Division, for their continued relationship and support of Branch 25. And a sincere thanks to all of the members of U.S. Branches 5, 22, 25, and 156 of the International Western U.S. Zone of the Royal Canadian Legion for their participation in the videos that made up today's service. Finally, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining